Hey there, YouTube. I know something a little different. Usually I focus on Godzilla content or kaiju-related content in general, but I do branch out on occasion, and this is a rare time I definitely want to do it because one of the shows I do follow, episode to episode, was The Legend of Korra, as I was a big fan of the last Airbender series. And just tonight I witnessed the finale, the series finale for Legend of Korra, and basically I'm here to share my thoughts on it. And yes, this is going to be in-depth, so I guess I should say right now spoilers will be in it, because I'm hoping people will want to discuss. I know there's a lot in there that made me really think. It was very different, very action-packed, and yeah, so what better way than to just start from the beginning. Here we go. So, part one, I suppose, the basic storyline is basically, for the most part, the epic battle to finally stop that giant mech suit with that damn spirit vine cannon, and it's definitely one of the most epic battles yet seen in this whole Last Bender Legend of Korra series. It really is. It takes it to whole new heights, and that's what I love about it. And I love about it, just like the original series finale for Last Airbender, pretty much every character gets a moment to shine. They even had me worried there for a second there at Mako, but he had a pretty good moment too, which I'll get into later. But I guess to summarize, it's sad almost to say this now because it's like super spoilers, but like I said, I already put the forewarning in there. But the basic point of it is I won't say almost every character, but I'd say a lot of the characters all come together for this one big fight. And the basic first part of the clash is, you know, since if you watch the last episode, then you know the Hummingbird operation was almost completely ruined when Korra fired on Avatar Jr. and Avatar and friends and destroyed that factory. However, they do have a few prototypes left over. And then when all hope seems lost because their tactics to take down this mech suit so far, just pure bending, aren't working, lo and behold, Bei Fong Lin actually secures them Osami's father. And he is the one, the tactical genius, who comes up with, I think like what it was called, some kind of buzzsaw type thing to slice into the suit's armor, basically, as he describes it in a pretty epic way, to go inside like a disease and cripple the organs in the inside of the mech suit. That turns out to be the real way to finish the job. What I do like is the battle up to that point, though, regardless, there had some pretty epic moments. We had earthbenders actually tearing down buildings. We had airbenders actually creating enough wind to actually knock the mech suit this way and that way. And I know the last few episodes I've been worried, like, I wonder if the city's going to get destroyed, or is this going to be a more calm battle where it's nothing really going to happen except for maybe on the inside of the suit. Because I knew eventually they would get on the inside of the suit, but I'm glad to say Republic City got, I mean, I guess it's the inner child in me, really wanted to see Republic City get it good, and it did. A lot of it got smashed. There's some pretty epic shots where the whole skyline of the city is getting destroyed in one swift blow, and it's pretty incredible. Some very important things to note that happened prior to the battle is that, for one, Asami and her father finally, I mean, they finally make the literal peace. Like, they finally forgive each other, and now he's going to help in the battle. And the other big one I know everyone has been waiting for is that finally Varric and Julie finally do the thing. You know, yeah. You know, we've got so many teases for it up to this point. But you know what? I'm actually glad they did hold off to the very last minute, because it made it that much more epic when it finally did happen out of the blue. And it just felt right. It was a little comedic, but it just felt, you felt the emotion out of it, and it was great. Now, I love about this fight, they also kept, I'm amazed they managed to make this fit, but they actually did have some little comedic scenes, made Milo shine a little bit, and he was pretty great for that little moment. I loved him right there. It was funny. You have to see it. I don't even want to describe his scene. You just have to see it. And the look on Crew's face, it was just spectacular. I loved it. Now, the epicness really starts going top notch once you get to the final battle inside, though. Once they finally do make it inside, because I guess I do have to say it, that that's one thing I do like about Legend of Korra. I won't say over The Last Airbender, because Last Airbender was the one that started it all. It's a damn classic. One of the best animated shows ever. One of the best shows ever, period. But they actually killed someone off during the finale. I was like, wow. I kind of saw it coming down. I was like, but the second time I thought they weren't going to really go balls out and actually do it, but they actually did it. Someone actually sacrificed themselves. And when it hit me, I was like, wow. Wow, they actually did it. And it was well done. It was well done. And I'm glad they built that up for that throughout season 4. And then continuing, yeah, the epicness basically gets inside once basically the two brothers go inside, Bolin and Mako, and the two Beifong sisters, Sue and Lin, and of course the Avatar go in, and that's when stuff gets really crazy. And yeah, epic battles ensue. Now this is the part where I'm going to go, I guess, into part 2, because this is where it's really counting. I guess because everyone's going to do this eventually, comparing this series finale to the Avatar The Last Airbender finale. So I guess we'll do that now, starting with the action scenes as opposed to the calm that comes afterwards. Now, in Avatar The Last Airbender finale, we had basically, I think we had, what is it, about 4 different action scenes going on, I believe. We had Aang versus the Fire Lord. We had Zuko and Katara against Azula. We had the whole airship fiasco going on with Sokka, Toph, and what's the name of his girlfriend? Suki. And also we had the White Lotus doing their thing in Ba Sing Se. And I didn't miss anything. So yeah, they had a total of 4 going on. And this one we had, well, first we had the big giant set piece where everyone was fighting against the mech. So that basically counts as one in itself to me, even though it came before the other 3 big ones that would come later on. But that in itself just is one of the best scenes they had in this whole thing. So they had one right there, and then of course the main 3 happened once they get inside. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with the fights. Now, what I will say is, I wish Kriv had at least one second in command who would have been a noteworthy fighter, so that way someone other than Korra would have had an opponent we would have recognized. But when you think about it, it probably would have distracted from the main fight probably, and it kind of, I guess, already been done in book 3. So yeah, it probably was better off that only one that we really recognize now. The only enemy, the real big enemy really left is Kriva herself, because at this point she's already lost Bataar Jr. and almost forgot to mention, I like how they handled him. Like, he feels regret for what he did, but I guess I would skip to the ending right there. They actually don't show him receiving the forgiveness just yet, because we all know it's going to take some time. He betrayed his whole family and his whole nation, for that matter, I suppose, in a sense. So I like how they handled that. His wounds will take time to heal. But anyways, get back on the subject matter. Yeah, so the Beifong sisters, they do some pretty crazy stuff. They basically take out the gun, and that was pretty epic. And then I love, because at first, like I was saying, at first because it was mostly the airbenders and earthbenders and some of Korra's epic waterbending that was holding the mech down and trying to stop it and just slow it down so they could actually take a crack at it. And then lo and behold, finally the duo Mako and Bolin get their great big action scene together inside, like they pretty much always do. And I noticed that there's always, I won't say a pattern as much, but I guess, yeah, I'll say a pattern. I'll say it's a tradition, I guess, the way they like doing it in this series, that the only time they use lightning is when it's really necessary. And every time I'm watching one of the finale from one of the books, I was wondering, when is Mako going to use the goddamn lightning? When is he going to use the lightning? They always make you wait to the very last second, but damn, when it happened, it was great. And let me also say, before I get to that, they had a little fight with some guards guarding that little energy reactor. My god, it was an epic little fight, even though it's in little cramped quarters where this giant bundle of vines is at, powering the machine. It was a pretty intense fight, and they actually, although I guess you say all fights have a little bit of it, this fight had really had some intense physical moments for the finishing blows. That epic tackle from Bolin, that was just nice. And then Mako really gets his moment to shine. And I gotta say, because one thing people would probably always pay attention to, but the score is always great for these shows. But here, this is probably, that's why I say it's also my favorite moments for a number of reasons. Because first off, Mako's my favorite character. I love Firebend, it's my favorite bending ability, firebending and lightning bending. And then the music really just soared to life in that scene where Mako, for God's sakes, even though they already had killed off one character at this point, I really thought for a second they're about to kill off a second. Like, oh Jesus Christ, not Mako too. The intensity of it and the music just really captured that scene and made it just glorious. It was, honest to Godzilla, say that was one of the best uses of lightning I've ever seen. Really was, and you really felt the pain of that blow too. Whew. But in any case, now on to the main attraction, I suppose you could say. Although I'd say this one is definitely it's like the first one, you know. Even though the main battle everyone's waiting for is between the main villain and the Avatar, I like how everyone else gets a lot to do. But we all know when it comes down to, we want to see that battle and see how intense that one's going to be. And I'll say it was intense. At first time watching it, I felt a little bit off because unlike the first one in Avatar, The Last Airbender, you know, that was a big open space, so they could do a whole lot with water and whatnot. This was like in the cramped little, you know, cockpit type area, I guess, for the giant mech suit. But you know what? In that cramped little space, they managed to pull off some epic fight moves. It was just brilliant. It really was. And it was pretty evenly matched. Korra did not use Avatar State as much as I thought she was going to. But you know what? I'm kind of glad they did that. I'm kind of glad they did that. It was just more of just intense. Who could... Because no water bending was really used once you got inside. It was more of just... It was mostly who could just be the better, almost metal bender. For a second there, although there was some air bending tricks in there too. Pretty epic. Yeah, so basically... And then things get really interesting though. Once Mako finally does complete his mission, you know, he severs and destroys the whole reactor and it blows up, basically destroying the mech suit. And then from there, basically, you know, it's one of those moments where everyone's down, it's really quiet, you think it's, dare you say, it's almost all over. And I just love that brick, that just mound of earth or brick or whatever, and Korra hurling it in Korra's face, like, no, it's not over. Indeed it isn't. So they pursue her to the spirit vines, or the spirit gun, which is detached earlier because Korra, in one vast moment, once she has the arm that the cannon was almost useless, ripped it off because she knew the bait farmers were inside there, so screw it, it's useless, rips the whole thing off and just chucks it into the city, causing massive destruction. But yeah, basically what happens then, it's pretty incredible. I didn't see that coming at all. The spirit gun goes off one final time, but it's the most epic blast of them all. It's just really destroying the city, and you, for a second there, the whole city was gonna blow. It's like, really? It's really? And then what ends up happening, the ending is pretty crazy. I guess this is where we go to part 3. The finale of the finale, and this is where I really have the most to say, because action is great and music was really great throughout, but all the little revelations and dialogue that happens in the finale is really where the most hit comes for emotionally. And a lot of the, I guess you could say, shockers. Okay, for one, I was wholeheartedly expecting Kariva and Korra to like battle, I won't say to the death, because I think that was definitely not going to happen, but at least though she's just so broken and beaten. But actually the defeat for Kariva comes more by Korra leveling with her emotionally and realizing they are actually more alike than she would like to admit, which was pretty darn crazy. And so, unlike Fire Lord Ozai, Kariva actually submits and surrenders, which I thought was insane, and it was very unexpected for a character who, up to this point, although who had been calm, calculating, and very cold, could finally have the revelation that it really is over and it's time to just give up. And yeah, that was a shocker in itself. And then we go to the ending ceremony. We see the official wedding between Varric and Julie, which was nice. Great scene, a lot of emotion, comedy there. Really helped with the mood. Oh, let me go back really quick. My mistake. Let me go back really quick and say that no, it can be covered in the finale. Let me just keep going since I restarted. Yeah, I guess it will be the next scene, because right after the wedding, we see the characters interact for just a little bit more. And one of the first things you see is they're talking to Mako talking to Prince Wu about the future of the Earth Kingdom. And I like how they did that. Because, if you watch this show very closely, and you know your history, then you guys, each book has been about a different type of politics trying to, clash with democracy has been established in Republic City. The first book was communism. The second was, I'll get back to it. The second was more about a resurgence of faith, but I'm not sure what kind of political spectrum that would fit in other than just two nations dividing even more so than they were before. And the third was definitely anarchy, and this one has definitely been fascism. So what happens at the very end? Prince Wu actually decides to dismantle the Earth Kingdom monarchy and make it into a democracy, like the Earth Kingdom. Which is probably for the best, since the entire history of the Avatar series, we've seen that the bossing say has always been corrupt, and just a very, very hot and cold place to live. You could either be well off or you could be in the slums. And then once they lost their king, it was utter chaos, which led to the whole Kariva problem in the first place. So with that said, it was probably a very good move, and I love that they included that. Get the king out of there, get rid of the monarchy, and I love the way the show made a move, and this is moving to this whole modern era, which is really great. So with that said, with that out of the way, and then comes the next really big moment. Because first we have a little tender moment between Tenzin and Korra, which I definitely will talk about, because that was great just for, not only for the show itself, but also for just motivation for people in real life, and just how powerful those words were about, when you go through pain, it's not just for the hell of it. It's not just to make your life harder. It's so you actually do learn something from it, and you do take something from it, and you do grow from it. And with that said, you know, the circle finally becomes complete. It started at the beginning of book 4, well, I say at the end of book 3, really, with Korra being in this very dark place in her life and finally triumphing over it. It really is just a lesson to behold for anybody who would watch this, and anybody can embrace that message that, you know, the darkest times of our lives can lead you to the light if you want to, and you want to try, and it's always going to be a great journey along the way. So with that Tenzin moment out of the way, first beforehand that scene, there's a scene with Mako, and let me just say this right now, I'm a Mako fan, obviously, whatnot, so, you know, for my own selfish reasons, I wanted so badly for Mako and Korra to get back together ever since they split apart in book 2. I know for a while book 3 really showed they were moving away from that, and instead moving in a different direction. That's why all the rumors kept coming out about Korrasami, Korrasami, Korrasami. And I'm like, what, Korrasami? Really? I thought I wouldn't mind, just that, like, would the show really have the balls? I don't think they can even do that. Can they? I don't know. It's technically a kid's show, although really is for all ages when you look at the show. It's a great number of aspects, no matter the age range. But with that said, the thing they did there, which at first I kind of hated them for, but then I realized how brilliant it was, like, they really teased us with Mako and Korra giving it a second try. And like when you look at it retrospectively, we think just how much these two characters have changed, both Mako and Korra. Not just in their looks, but also in their personalities, and the way they are, and the way they do things. At the core, they're still the same, but they've matured so much. And just the way they did it, and the music, everything, you could have swore if I had bet money on that, I would have lost. Because for a second there, I thought, oh, it's happening, my dreams are coming true, they are going to do it and get back together. But no, it was just a declaration of friendship and loyalty, which was still great. Even though it was a tease, but a damn good one. Damn good one. So with that out of the way, it finally happens. But not in an overly gratuitous way or anything like that. Well, obviously it was very subtle, and that was the beauty of it, really. You know, Korra and Asami finally, although still not technically officially in the show, but it was pretty hard to disagree with at that point, because you notice that in the show ever since I'd say almost book 2, but by that logic, yeah, that Korra had been moving away. Although she was still friends with Bolin and Mako, she was moving closer and closer to Asami as, you know, the one to go to and confide in, and all these things. And you see that come once again full circle right here, and that bond, it definitely goes just a little bit beyond friendship. And you know, even if you were someone who was opposed to it because you wanted two other characters to get together or something like that, I think everyone has to appreciate that ending. It was so different from the first Avatar's ending, where, even though I love that one so much, it was kind of the whole, you know, 3 whole books, but you know, eventually these two characters are just going to get together, because it was just there from the beginning. The little signs were there, and the signs kept on growing, even through the ups and downs. Finally, at the very end, the couple got together. And here I can honestly say it was a couple you didn't expect at all. Looking back at the beginning, it really was a super long process that had to develop through many stages, and that's what makes you appreciate the very end when you finally see it happen. And I love about this one, they really did make it a beautiful ending, not just in the spiritual sense. They opened a new spirit world, and all these new possibilities are going to happen in the future, you know, the light of democracy and whatnot. And then you just see them two walk off hand in hand into the spirit realm, and it feels, what's the word I'm looking for? It For a second there, I almost felt like they were walking off, just like, that's what I'm looking for. It felt like a very surreal ending, a lot more surreal than Avatar: The Last Airbender ending, because you see them just walk off into this beam of light, and it just takes you up into the sky, and you're just looking at this realm of power and mystery, and then it just, the words finally flash, the end. And you just feel your heart drop. Like, it's crazy, because now you just want to see more. And just like the Avatar: Last Airbender had all these, after the war ends, 100-year war ends, and there's a bunch of comics, but all kinds of adventures to go on, setting up what takes place in Legend of Korra. I am hoping dearly that they do the same thing for Legend of Korra, because I want to see what happens next. I want to see to develop the Korra-sama relationship further. Will Mako meet someone finally? Are they going to be even new characters? Will it be another antagonist as great as the ones you've seen in each one of the books of the Legend of Korra series? I liked all the villains so much. Even my favorite still remains to be Zahir. I loved all the villains. They were all freaking great, developed very well. And when it ended, it just felt like that can't be the end. Not in a disappointing way, but just in a way that you felt like it really is over now. It's just, wow. For a second there, you just sit there, you lose your breath for a second, like, well, it was a damn good run while it lasted. It really was. And I'm glad they ended in such a satisfying way, and such a non-traditional way at that. It really wasn't the best, roughly an hour, almost, a little less than an hour, I think it's like 45 minutes, roughly at best. Moments I've spent on the internet, that I watched the internet on TV, but in any case, the internet, one of the best times I felt watching something else, original production. Now, I'll talk about it just a little bit more. One thing I noticed when I'm looking back at the whole thing now, you ever noticed the whole Dark Knight Rises type story going on here? Person at the end of one thing is hurt both emotionally and physically, and then so throughout the next installment they spend the majority of their time, healing their body both mentally and physically, and it eventually comes full circle, and then they beat the enemy once they finally perfected those two things, and then then peace is attained, and then a new relationship is formed with both friends and loved ones. Now, this I can also say was handled in such a unique and better way than something like the Dark. I still like the Dark Knight Rises on a number of levels. It still had a number of flaws to it as well that I think it could have done a lot better. Dark Knight Rises is one of those things where, like, you watched it, you're satisfied. You are satisfied. You think that was a good movie. However, when you think about it, does it really, go above and beyond what came before it? No. Could have done things a little more epically, and they could have done better writing in some parts. Could have done just a little bit more, put a little more meat on the bones, or put meat and bones in the right places instead of in others. That's how that one leaves you feeling. Legend of Korra series finale felt just goddamn right. I would say nothing felt off for me. In fact, if I had only one complaint, I wish it was longer. I hope in some way, although we probably won't get it, I wish some way, shape, or form there was an extended cut where we see just a few things, and the only thing I really wanted to see, just for the hell of it, throw Tenzin's brother and sister in there, Kaya and Boomy. They were missing. I was expecting to see them at some point in there, but I guess not. I was really expecting to see them. That part disappointing. That's my only real complaint about the whole thing. Other than that, I still give it 5 out of 5 stars. Honestly speaking, that doesn't bring it down. It just a minor nitpick. I wish they were in there. because I enjoy those two characters so much. But yeah, the creators, if you're listening, please extend the cut of this series finale. I'd pay up the nose for it. Even if I have the money for it, I would do it anyways, because I want to see that finale just go for a little bit longer. Not even more action, just more stuff that comes afterwards. You know, settling everything. I want to see Bolin with Opal, you know, it's finally, all they did, rekindle it already. I wanted to see it one last time, you know. It just, one thing is you just feel great after watching it. You just do. But it's also kind of tragic, you know, it really is over. As far as I know, and as far as everyone's confirmed, there will not be a book number 5. It's officially over. And although Korra's adventures will continue, she even said it herself, we will not be seeing them unless they come in comic book form, I suppose, or maybe video game or something like that. I prefer comic book, something of that nature, graphic novel even. Get writing, right now, right fucking now. But yeah, it really is sad to see this series go, but it left us with some great memories and great characters, and it really left a landmark on the series. Now, with this one ending so close to the modern age, we can almost recognize, one has to wonder, will there be a 3rd series? I know, I kind of doubt it since it's so close to the modern era, but who knows? I'm not going to judge it and guess just yet. We could get it. We could sometime in the future. It'd be weird to pull off in the modern day and age, perhaps, but I would love to see it. I would love to see it. So, with that said, Avatar, whoever's watching, really know it's such a hard video for me to do, but look, it had to be done. Thank you for watching, and thank you to creator Legend of Korra for doing such an incredible series that stands the test of time. I know it will, and quite frankly beats a lot of what's live action out there on TV and movies. You know, hopefully it sees light, another medium of art, and you'll have to miss it very much. I know I sure will. And I guess it's final goodbye.